Hello, and welcome to Coaching Corner with me, Tracy Forsyth. So, I wanted to dive into something that's been bubbling up in my coaching conversations recently. And, well, you know that phrase, do you eat to live or live to eat? I definitely come from a live to eat family. We live to eat. We're always talking about, what we're going to have for lunch, after breakfast, and so on. But it's not that. That's not what I'm talking about today. But it's a variation of that. So it's like, do you live to work or do you work to live? Are you living to work or working to live? So it's don't roll your eyes. It's not what I'm talking about is not kind of like a work-life balance thing. It's not about perfection or some sort of mythical balance that we that is perfect, but it's about clarity. So what I see is that so many brilliant people are stuck in a hamster wheel saying, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, or once this project ends, then I'll be able to focus on what matters. So does that sound familiar? There's like always a payoff. But the plot twist is there's actually a third option that nobody talks about. So what if you could love what you do and have a life that you're excited about outside of work? What if your career could fuel your dreams instead of stealing them? So a blended approach. I call this working to thrive. It's when your career becomes a vehicle for the life you actually want. Not kind of like, a prison sentence you're serving. So how do you do that? What does this look like? So if we think about sort of practical things, these are here are 5 tips I want to share with you to shift from just surviving to thriving. So number 1 is to define your non-negotiables. What are the 3 or 5 things that must be present in your life for you to feel fulfilled and energized? So they can be large or small, and don't just try and think, family, that's too big a thing. Like, what about that family? So maybe it's like creative time, maybe it's family dinners, maybe it's like learning something new. I definitely have all of those things, like coffee with my mum, learning a new skill, time for me to do exercise. These are kind of like non-negotiables. So I always think, you put those in first and foremost, and then build your career around them. You can't pour from an empty cup. You've got to have that energy. You've got to have those. What are your non-negotiables that need to be in there for you to thrive and not just survive? So number 2 is to become a skill collector, not a task completer. So in the future, the World Economic Forum says that we'll have many careers. We won't just have one, and it will be our core skills that count and how we can adapt them to the changing marketplace. So this is why I think it's really good to think about what you do, not just as tasks that you start and finish, but what skills are you collecting and building? So every project, every meeting, everything that you do, ask yourself, what skills am I building here? What capability am I building here? How is this a transferable skill if need be? So focus on growth that makes you more valuable and not just busier. So this means, like at work, trying out something that you haven't done before, doing those stretch projects, going a little bit outside of your comfort zone, learning. So tip 3 is to set energy boundaries and not just time boundaries. I'm a big fan of time boxing, like just having my diary with all the things that I need to do and making sure that I do them in that time, come what may. But energy, I think, is such a key thing. We are all energy at the end of the day, and energy boundaries. So it's not about kind of like just being efficient, working fewer hours. It's about protecting your peak energy for what matters most. So do the things, I don't know, just working out when are you best, when are you at your peak, when you're at the most productive, and sort of organizing your life around that. So energy. And also, of course, really know your energizers and your drains. Tip 4 is to create your future me filter, your future self filter. So before saying anything to yes, ask yourself, will my future self thank me for making this decision? What am I, in terms of the future, what is the best decision? So I'm a big believer in beginning with the end in mind, really having that some sort of clarity of vision about what kind of life you want, even if you don't know exactly what you'll be doing. So when you're making decisions now, when people are asking you to do stuff, think before you say yes, think, will my future self thank me for making this decision? Does it help where I want to be in the future? So this is I think it really helps with priorities, what's going to be important at the end of the day. And my tip number 5 is to design micro adventures. So, this is obviously it would be great for us all to have a 2-week holiday to recharge. And sometimes that's possible and sometimes that's not. But I think it's about building 15-minute pockets of joy into your work day. So whether it's got a lot to do with energy, hasn't it? So call a friend, go for a walk at lunchtime, spend 15 minutes learning something completely random, speak to somebody you've never spoken to before. Whatever sparks joy for you is put it into your life. Yeah. So if you want to try out all of this, it would be great. If you want one challenge for this week, is just to pick one of those tips and try it and see what happens, just one. So small, it's the butterfly effect. The butterfly flaps its wings over here and it causes a tidal wave over there. So just try one thing and let's see what happens. So, future fit, it's not just about having the right skills, it's about having core skills that you can apply in lots of different ways. And a lot of that takes time, the time to kind of think about that design. So designing a career that serves your whole life, not just hijacks it. So listen, I'd be interested to know, if, like me, you are going back to the eating, if you are someone who lives to eat or eats to live, let me know. And similarly, if you are living to work or working to live, and even if you are ready to try working to thrive, let me know. And of course, if you're ready to design a career that actually fits your life, let's chat about, getting you on the fast track to fearless, whether it's coaching with me or taking one of my courses. Take care. Bye.